Midnight bled into the veins of the city, pulsing neon and exhaust through cracked concrete streets. A low hum vibrated beneath the skyline, part mechanical, part human. It was race night. Jax leaned against his matte black Nissan 240SX. The hood popped, a cigarette dangling from his lips. He didn't smoke it, never had. It was more of a ritual than habit. Something about the glow of the ember in the dark made him feel centered. Or maybe it was just the only thing left of his brother. He flicked it aside when he heard the Ferrari pull in. Red, sleek, loud as sin. Every head in the alley turned. Phones rose to capture the moment, faces lit by screens and wonder. The crowd parted like a wave around royalty. The Ferrari 488 Pista rolled in with a low growl, carbon fiber glinting under streetlights. Its driver stepped out like he owned the night. Cruz, barely 23, rumored to have made his money flipping crypto and flipping cars. Drove like the devil was late and was doing him a favor. He wore designer shoes and a smirk, hair slicked back, jawline like a Calvin Klein ad. Jax, Cruz said, walking over, sunglasses still on even though it was midnight. Didn't think you'd actually show. Thought maybe you were scared of getting lapped. Jax closed his hood slowly, wiping his hands on a rag. You talk a lot for someone who's never seen second gear on a real street. Cruz chuckled. That little race burner of yours got more rust than torque. It's not the car that wins, Jax said, voice low. It's the driver. Cruz's smile widened. Then I guess we both brought weapons. The crowd was swelling now. Concrete steps, rooftops, fire escapes. Every corner of the alley was jammed with bodies. Word had spread. This was the race. Winner takes 10 grand. Bragging rights, and maybe something more. Jax's best friend Miko slid next to him, clipboard in hand. Everyone's in. We got 20 onlookers from TikTok, live streamers up. Sponsors are watching. It's big. Yeah, Jax said, still watching Cruz. Feels big. Miko lowered her voice. You sure about this, Jax? I mean, we need the money, but Cruz, that thing's a spaceship. He's never raced a real course, Jax muttered. It's not just a straight. He doesn't know the city. I do. Miko looked down at her watch. 10 minutes. Jax turned to his car and opened the driver door. The familiar creak was oddly comforting. He sat in it, adjusted his gloves, and took a deep breath. On the dash, a photo hung on a little clip. Him and his brother. Danny both in grease-stained shirts, laughing over a busted transmission. Danny had died 2 years ago on a track in Nevada. His brakes had failed during a street race. Everyone called it an accident. Jax knew better. There was someone in that crowd who knew what really happened. Tonight was as much about the truth as it was about the win. Down at the start line, Miko raised a red flag, her voice cutting through the alley's noise via megaphone. All right, racers, 3 laps, out and back. Routes marked the blue lights. No shortcuts, no wrecks. First one past the line wins. Cruz popped his neck and slipped on leather driving gloves, adjusting his mirrors with a casual flick. Jax stared ahead, ignoring flash of phones and the roar of anticipation. A girl with a flare stepped forward. Her red mini dress shimmered in the haze. She held the flare high, eyes locked on both drivers. Ready? The revs went up. Set. Engine screamed. Go. The flare ignited. A burst of crimson light and smoke shot. Tires streaked. Both cars lunged forward like bullets from a gun. The first corner came fast. Cruz looked outside like a Formula One driver, smooth and clinical. Jax clipped the inside. Tires skimming paint off the curb, his tail barely missing a parked dumpster. They hit a straight, a quarter mile of open street lined with flickering street lamps. Cruz surged ahead, the Ferrari's twin-turbo V8 roaring like a lion unleashed. But Jax didn't flinch. He knew what came next. A sharp left through a valley, no wider than a moving van. Cruz hesitated just for a second. Jax didn't. He dove in, scraping the 240SX against brick as sparks flew from the mirror. Bottles shattered somewhere above, the sound of the city mixing with adrenaline and nitrous. Cruz had to swing wide, doubling back, burning precious seconds. Jax was already sliding into the next stretch. Chinatown. Paper lanterns burned above. The scent of street food mixed with burnt rubber. Lap 1. Jax was ahead. Back at the start line, Miko watched the race on her monitor. A drone followed overhead, sending bird's eye view of the live stream. The comments were flying. What the fuck? The Nissan is leading. No way, this beater beats a Ferrari? Jax is cooking right now. But Miko wasn't reading comments. She was watching a man in the crowd. Slicked back hair, expensive watch, quiet, watching too closely. She snapped a photo and texted it to Jax. The guy from Danny's race? You were right. He's here. Cruz caught up on the second lap. Jax could see him in the mirror, lights flickering like a demon chasing redemption. They barreled down a highway ramp, 3 stories above the city, tires screeching in unison. Cruz was using the Ferrari's speed now, leveraging every ounce of horsepower. But Jax did something Cruz didn't. He knew every pothole, every oil slick, every uneven grate on this course. It was in his bones. Still, by the end of lap 2, they were neck and neck. Inside his car, Cruz was sweating, the Ferrari's temp gauge blinking red. Not good, not this early. He'd underestimated Jax. The guy was fast, not just fast, smart, surgical with corners, brave with lines. Cruz had money, gear, and reputation, but Jax was racing like his life depended on it. And maybe it did. Cruz heard rumors, something about a dead brother, a cover-up. Cruz wasn't involved, but he knew who was. A name he wasn't supposed to say. Lap 3, final stretch. Jax hit the gas out of the curve. Nitrous bottle armed. The world turned into a tunnel of light and speed, but the Ferrari was right there. And then suddenly, too suddenly, Cruz tapped his brakes. What the hell? Jax muttered. That's when he saw it. A garbage truck had jackknifed in the alley. Blocked the route, but Cruz had a different line. He veered left into a side path, a shortcut. One that wasn't part of the route. Jax skidded to a halt, tires screaming. He couldn't make it through the truck, but he could cut around. He yanked the wheel, heart pounding, eyes scanning for another line. There, a fire escape, ramped low enough to the dumpster lid. He floored it. The car launched into the air, smashed down hard and kept going. It wasn't clean, it wasn't legal, but it was fast. Both cars were back on the final street. The car line visible now, crowd screaming, neck and neck. Jax hit nitrous again, his last shot. Cruz did the same. The engines wailed. Fire spitting from both exhausts. 50 feet, 40, 41. Then, Jax saw something in Cruz's eyes. A flicker, regret. And in the last second, Cruz tapped his brake. Just barely, enough for Jax to win. The crowd erupted, cameras flashed, hands raised. Miko screamed, "You did it!" But Jax wasn't cheering. He jumped out of his car and ran straight to Cruz's. "Why'd you pull back?" he demanded. Cruz got out slowly, took off his gloves, looked around the crowd, then pointed to the man Miko had seen. "Because he was watching," Cruz said, "and I'm done driving for people like him." Jax turned toward the man, a face he'd never forget. Danny's sponsor, the one who cut the brakes. Silence draped the alley after the race. Cruz pointed to a man watching from the shadows. Slick suit, silver rings, cold stare. Jax's heart dropped. "Vince Tracer," Cruz muttered. "The man who backed your brother's last race." Jax clenched his fist. "I've been trying to find him since Danny died." Cruz nodded. "Now he's found you." Vin turned and disappeared into the crowd. Back at Jax's garage, Miko pulled up drone footage while Cruz spilled everything. "I wasn't meant to win that night," Cruz admitted. "Vin told me to show off. He wanted to rattle you." "Why?" Jax asked. "You're the last thread. Danny found out Vin rigs races. Takes drivers out, rigs equipment, uses them to build his underground circuit. When Danny refused to throw a race, they made sure he'd never drive again." Jax stared at the cracked concrete. "We need to shut him down." Cruz slid a card across the table. "Just coordinates and a time. Next race is invite only. You win, you get proof, and a shot at taking him down. 2 days. That's all they had to build the 240SX into a monster." Cruz supplied the parts. Miko handled the tech, rewiring the ECU and installing a boost controller. At midnight, she pulled out a small vial of blue liquid. "Experimental blend," she said. "Burns hotter than nitrous. 10 seconds of raw power, but it'll tear the engine apart." Jax took it with a nod. 10 seconds is all I need." The race was at an abandoned airstrip surrounded by trees and mist. No lights, no phones, just 10 cars lined up under moonlight. Jax spotted the Lambo, matte black, no plates, Vin's top driver. Finn stood by the start, grinning. "Nice of you to show," he said. "You rigged Danny's brakes," Jack shot back. Finn shrugged. "Racing's a dangerous game." Jax tossed his keys to Miko. "Car's collateral. We lose, it's yours." Finn raised an eyebrow. "You won't need a ride home." The race started like a thunderstorm, rubbing, shrieking, flames bursting from exhausts. Jack stayed tight to the inside. Cruz boxed out the wide-body Supra. The road shifted from smooth tarmac to busted country lanes, debris everywhere. Suddenly, spike strips. Cruz's voice crackled. "I'm losing control." Jax looked back. Cruz's car limped, sparks flying. "Go without me," Cruz said. Jax pressed harder, the 240 SX surging ahead. The black Lambo was ahead, weaving through an underpass. Miko's voice came through the radio. "He's cutting the course. GPS is ghosting him. They're cheating." "Of course they are." Jax flipped the toggle for the blend. Blue fire erupted from the exhaust. The 240 SX launched forward. Pine trees blurred into shadows. Jax gritted his teeth through a jump and landed hard. His chassis groaned. The Lambo came into view. No more shortcuts, just the straightaway. Final lap. Jax closed the gap, forcing the Lambo to swing wide. They traded paint. Jax drifted clean, taking the inside. Cruz's voice crackled and weakly. "Miko's uploading footage. Shows Vin tampering with race tech. Police are already watching." "Good," Jack said. "Let's end this." He flipped the final switch. The engine roared like thunder. The Lambo tried to block, but Jax was already ahead, behind him. The Lambo's tire burst. Too much strain. It spun out in a cloud of smoke. Jax flew from the finish line, first. Vin stood still, jawline tight. Sirens screamed in the distance. Miko handed Jax a tablet. Footage went viral. "Cops are en route. He's done." Jax didn't look at Vin. Just turned to the 240 SX, smoking battered, but still standing. "I told you, Cruz," said, limping over. "You're the better driver." Jax didn't smile. He just nodded, touching the chain around his neck. "For Danny." Headline screamed, "Street racing kingpin arrested. Whistleblower driver exposes deadly syndicate." Vin was locked out with bail. His empire collapsed. Cruz opened a garage. Miko went full-time in tech. Jax still drove, but only on the track. No more shadows, just speed, freedom, and the road ahead.